بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي اللهم فقهنا في الدين وعلمنا التأويل وافتح لنا فتوح العارفين آمين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khair for joining us once again for another episode in our series on the Quran in the month of Ramadan. Just going to continue, inshallah, where we left off. And the author was speaking about the importance and some of the virtues of the Quran. And he quotes many ahadith, especially in this section. And it's something that the author is very well accustomed to doing, because if you read some of his other books, like for example Al-Adhkar, Riyadh al-Salihin, Bustan al-Arifin, and many of his other books, he also uses often the same kind of style, in which he would mention in every section some of the relevant verses of Quran dealing with that topic, and also some of the ahadith or some of the prophetic traditions that are also dealing with that issue. Continuing from where we left off, قال المؤلف رحمه الله ونفعنا الله بعلومه في الدارين آمين. The author, he says, may Allah enable us to benefit from his knowledge, آمين. وعن عبد الله بن عمرو بن العاص رضي الله عنهما عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال. So this hadith, which was transmitted and narrated by Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, he mentions that he heard, or he took from the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, قال يقال لصاحب القرآن, he said that the Prophet said, it will be said to Sahib al-Quran. So Sahib al-Quran here is referring to the companion of the Quran. So somebody who was had a very special relationship with the Quran. Somebody who would often recite the Quran, and also somebody who would be acting upon the Quran also. So this is what we call Sahib. So the author says it would be said, يقال لصاحب القرآن, to the person of the Quran, to the companion, to the friend of the Quran, ارتقي, it would be said to him or her, اقرأ, recite and elevate, ورتل, and recite, كما كنت ترتل في الدنيا, and express your recitation in the exact same way that you used to express it in this worldly life. So this will be on the Day of Judgment. This will be a determining factor to ascertain what level of paradise that they should be in, according to many of the commentators of the hadith. So it will be said to them, read the Quran, wartaqi, and elevate. So they will be reading, and by virtue of their recitation, they will be elevating at the same time, so they will be going up. And it will be said, warattil kama kunta turattilu fid dunya, and express your recitation in the exact same way that you used to do in the worldly life. فَإِنَّ مَنْزِلَتَكَ عِنْدَ آخِرِ آيَةٍ تَقْرَأ, for indeed your abode and your station will be at the last verse that you recite. Okay, so your place or your station or your abode will be at the moment of the last verse that you recite of Quran. And this hadith was collected by Imam Abu Dawood, also by At-Tirmidhi, also by An-Nasa'i. And Imam At-Tirmidhi, he classified the hadith as Hasanun Sahih. He says the hadith which is Hasanun Sahih, so a sound and authentic hadith. So it's a very important hadith in order for us to kind of imagine the reward linked with the Quran. So the reward in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give to the believers in relation to the recitation and the learning of the Quran and the reading of the Quran, having a relationship with the Quran, should kind of encourage us to want to read the Quran more, especially in the month of Ramadan. So recitation of Quran is very important, understanding of Quran is very important, and if a person strives to recite the Quran, then they could also participate in this hadith that's speaking about the recitation and elevation. So recitation and elevation. So a person elevates as much as they're able to recite from the Quran, and wherever they end up reading the Quran, the last verse that they recite of Quran, that will be their position in the paradise or in the afterlife. There's a very strong incentive for many of us to learn the Quran. Maybe some of us don't really have much desire to learn the Quran, or maybe some of us even assume that we won't be able to, even if we wanted to. But the reality is there's nearly nothing that's stopping us. In fact, the only thing that maybe is stopping us is our own self-doubt. Maybe the only thing that's really stopping us is our own, feelings of not being able, or thinking that we can't do it. The actual reality is that we're more than capable of reading the Quran. We're more than capable of reciting Quran. We're more than capable of memorizing at least some portions of the Quran. So every single person should at least try and attempt as they can and try and reach their utmost potential. Nobody would ever be able to reach their potential unless they try. So a person should at least try and attempt, so at least they can ascertain. What people do is they just doubt themselves and they don't ever even embark on the endeavor. However, a person should at least try their best. So at least they can kind of know exactly what they can do. And often what happens is people really surprise themselves. People really, would never have imagined how much they are capable of doing and achieving. So really, the only thing that we have hampering us is our own self-doubt. The only thing we have hampering us is our own inability to look from another angle. Our own inability to be able to try and, say no, and I can do this, by, affirming that within ourselves. So I think that's the main issue and the main problem that many of us have. And maybe some of us are maybe not too energetic. So maybe some of us are a little bit lazy when it comes to the Quran. And for this person, the best thing that could be said to them would be, you don't know what kind of reward that you're missing out on the Day of Judgment when it comes to the rewards that are going to be handed out in relation to the Quran. I believe that a person should never ever, cause themselves to lose the opportunity to be able to learn Quran, especially considering the fact that it's one of the most rewardable deeds, that will be given a very elevated status on the Day of Judgment. The author then he says, وَعَنَ عَبْدِ اللَّهِ بْنِ عَمْرِ بْنِ الْعَاصِ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمَا, or rather, the hadith of Mu'adh ibn Anas. The author he says, وَعَنْ مُعَاذِ بْنِ أَنَسٍ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُ أَنَّ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ قال. So this hadith was narrated by Mu'adh ibn Anas, and he said that the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, مَنْ قَرَأَ الْقُرْآنَ وَعَمِلَ بِمَا فِيهِ أُلْبِسَ وَالِدَاهُ تَاجًا يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ ضوءه أحسن من ضوء الشمس في بيوت الدنيا فما ظنكم بالذي عمل بهذا رواه أبو داود. So this hadith, the Prophet he says, whoever recites the Quran and acts on that which is in the Quran, their parents will be caused to wear crowns on the Day of Judgment. So this is not just a reward that's restricted to the individual or to the person, but others, those who are near to them, will also reap the rewards also. So you have a person here who used to recite Quran and used to act upon the Quran. Their parents, their mother and their father, will be given crowns to wear on the Day of Judgment. أُلْبِسَ وَالِدَاهُ تَاجًا يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. Their parents, both their mother and their father, will be caused to wear crowns. And if they're wearing crowns on the Day of Judgment, simply by virtue of a person reciting Quran and acting upon the Quran and having that relationship with the Quran, then you can already also ascertain that the Quran will also act as an intercessor and an intermediary for that person, for the person's parents, and they will get reward based on their recitation. They will be rewarded and honored simply by the recitation and acting upon the Quran, but by their child. So if anybody wants to have everybody wants to have, wants to make sure that they are in a good position. If Allah blesses you with children, then let them learn Quran and, show them the love of Quran, or kind of instill the love of Quran in their hearts. And if you want to honor your parents on the Day of Judgment, learn the Quran and act upon the Quran. So أُلْبِسَ وَالِدَاهُ تَاجًا يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. Their parents will be caused to wear crowns. Their parents will be given crowns to wear on the Day of Judgment. And the Prophet he describes these crowns and he says ضوءه أحسن من ضوء الشمس في بيوت الدنيا. Its illumination is more superior than the illumination of the sun, in the context of this worldly life. Then he said, alayhi salatu wasalam, فَمَا ظَنُّكُمْ بِالَّذِي عَمِلَ بِهَذَا. What is your opinion then on those who will be acting upon it? Rawahu Abu Dawood. So if that's the case, people of recitation, imagine also acting upon the Quran. So it's very important, acting upon the Quran and recitation of Quran. And this hadith was collected by Imam Abi Dawood in a Sunan, and it's a sound hadith. So it kind of lets us know, and it kind of teaches us that the reward associated with the Quran is not one that's exclusive to the person, and that's not restricted only to them. In fact, the khair that can come from the Quran will also manifest upon other people also. So the person's parents, the person's children, the person's family members can all be recipient of the benefit of the Quran. So it's something that we should all make ourselves accustomed to. It's not only you who gets the khair, you even secure your parents' paradise, by learning Quran. You're doing a favor for your children by teaching them the Quran, and you're doing yourself a favor also once you teach your children the Quran. So it's something which is very, very important and very, very encouraged. But not only to recite the Quran. That's where many of the parents, they make a mistake. So they only teach them recitation of Quran, but they don't instill the love of Quran in their hearts. And that's something that many people could relate to growing up, in which many people were just advised and just told, go to madrasa. You have to go to madrasa, or you have to go, you have to go learn Quran. You have to learn how to read the Quran, and you have to do this and you have to do that. And many times, the child is going, but they don't really understand why they're going. So they don't really understand, why am I learning this? What is there to gain? So, but obviously, they don't ask these kind of questions, but this is what they're thinking. And it's wrong to kind of, not give them that information. It shouldn't just be, oh yeah, go and learn your Quran and that's it. But we should also be explaining to the youngsters and to the children as to why we want them to learn Quran. Why should they learn Quran? And instill that love of Quran in their heart, so that it isn't something that's considered a chore, isn't something that's considered, so they don't consider it to be something that's a burden. Actually, they want to go and learn Quran. They want to learn Quran. They want to enjoy the Quran. So that's really how it's supposed to be. They should really have that relation. They should really have that love instilled in their hearts, and that can be done by explaining to them the virtues of the Quran and explaining to them that everything they want will be in the afterlife. They will get with the Quran, and the people of Quran are the most beloved of the servants of Allah. So giving them that kind of information and encouraging them by giving them prizes and giving them incentives as to why they should learn Quran would make them desire the Quran even more. So this is something which is very important. Sometimes many of the youngsters in our communities are robbed of the knowledge of why they're learning Quran, even though that they're learning it. So really it doesn't benefit them as much as it should benefit them, because they don't know why they're learning Quran. So a person should teach, anyone who's learning the Quran should know why they're learning the Quran. And that's really an opportunity to incentivize the Quran in their hearts. So instilling that love in their hearts comes is as important as them learning how to read the Quran, having love for the Quran. Because when they have love for the Quran, they act upon the Quran. They act upon the Quran, they are categorized in the hadith that we're speaking about right now. So moving on to the next hadith. The author says, وَرَوَى الدَّارِمِيُّ بِإِسْنَادِهِ عَنْ عَبْدِ اللَّهِ بِن مَسْعُودٍ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُ. So this narration collected by Imam al-Darimi with his own chain, he narrates this hadith عن عبد الله بن مسعود, okay, and the great Sahabi Abdullah ibn Mas'ud رضي الله عنه قال, in which he said, اقرأوا القرآن. So this is a statement that's attributed to Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. But as you'll see, there's a difference of opinion amongst the muhaddithin regarding this hadith, or regarding this prophetic tradition. So some say it's a hadith which is mawquf. A hadith which is mawquf means that this hadith was narrated by someone from the generation of the companions. One of the companions narrated the hadith. If you say it's marfu' means that it's attributed to the Prophet ﷺ, so it's the Prophet ﷺ, okay, who said it. So there's a difference of opinion. Was it a companion who narrated this hadith, or was it the Prophet ﷺ himself? Having said that, this hadith mentions that it was Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu who said, "Iqra'u al-Quran, recite the Quran. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ تَعَالَى لَا يُعَذِّبُ قَلْبًا وَعَى الْقُرْآنِ," which means recite the Quran, for indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not punish a heart, okay, which is conscious of Quran. And like I said to you, this hadith is also it was also attributed to Abdullah ibn Mas'ud saying it. It was attributed to Abi Umamah radiallahu anhu saying it, and it was also attributed to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam him saying it. Okay, as a hadith which is marfu'. So whatever the case may be, the information is authentic simply because of the fact that even if it wasn't said by the Prophet ﷺ, the knowledge of this particular virtue would only have been known through the Prophet ﷺ anyway. So the hadith, اقرأوا القرآن, recite the Quran. فإن الله تعالى لا يعذب قلبا وعى القرآن. So he said, recite the Quran, for indeed Allah does not punish a heart which is conscious of the Quran. So very important. How often do we have consciousness of the Quran? Is it something that we read is it something we recite every day? Is it something that we recite once a week? Is it something we recite once a month? Is it something we recite every 6 months? Is it something, or do we never look at the Quran for years? So everybody knows their own condition and their own situation. Our responsibility is that we try our best to make sure that we do what we need to do to revitalize that relationship. So it continues, وَإِنَّ هَذَا الْقُرْآنَ مَأْدُبَةُ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. And this Quran is ma'duba. Ma'duba means that which produces, a ma'duba is a place, okay, that produces, okay, a person with adab. So it produces and it transforms somebody. The Quran is a transformative formula for somebody who learns the Quran. So the Quran will change you, okay, if a person learns the Quran. It is that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala utilizes, the mechanism in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala utilizes to give people good etiquette. Okay, so a person, often what you will find is when a person is very conscious of Quran and somebody has a relationship with Quran or recites Quran, it changes their life. Okay, it changes their life, and it's something that has a special resonance with them. Then it continues, فَمَنْ دَخَلَ فِيهِ فَهُوَ آمِنٌ. And anybody who enters therein, they are in security. وَمَنْ أَحَبَّ الْقُرْآنَ فَلْيَبْشِرْ أو فَلْيَبْشُرْ أو فَلْيَبْشَرْ أو فَلْيَبْشِرْ. And anybody who loves the Quran, good news for you. Okay, so that's something that's mentioned also over here. So it's something which is collected by Ad-Darimi in his Musnad. Something which is very important. So I will let this person be happy. If you love the Quran, that's good news, because it means that that's an indication that there's iman in the heart. And that's the most important thing. وعن عبد الحميد الحماني قال, and this narration mentions, so it's an author. قال, he said, one of the great person from the early Muslims, he said, سألت سفيان الثوري. He said, I asked Sufyan al-Thawri عن الرجل يغزو أحب إليك أو يقرأ القرآن. So he's asking a question to Sufyan. Sufyan al-Thawri is one of the great scholars of the past, one of the greatest scholars of the early Salaf, and he in fact actually had his own madhab, and he was a mujtahid person of ijtihad. However, his madhab became extinct. Somebody asked him a question. Said, عن الرجل, they asked him about a person, يغزو أحب إليك أو يقرأ القرآن. They said, what do you prefer, O Sufyan? Do you prefer a person who is a warrior, or do you prefer somebody who's a reciter of Quran? So they asked Sufyan al-Thawri this question. What do you like? Who do you like more? A person who's a warrior or a person who's a reciter of Quran? Then he replied, Sufyan al-Thawri, saying, فَقَالَ يَقْرَأُ الْقُرْآنِ. He said, I prefer the person who recites Quran. Then it was said, why? لأن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال, because the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he said, خيركم من تعلم القرآن وعلمه. He said, the reason why I like the Quran is because the person who recites the Quran more is because the Prophet ﷺ, he said, خيركم من تعلم القرآن وعلمه. The best of you is the one who learns the Quran and then teaches the Quran. He goes, because of this hadith, that's the reason why I prefer, it is the reason why I prefer the person who recites the Quran over the warrior. And this narration, particular narration, was collected by Abu Nu'aym al-Isfahani in his book Hilyatul Awliya. And with that, we concluded this first chapter, inshallah. So inshallah, in the next episode, inshallah, we'll continue with the next section. Jazakumullah khairan. Wa sallallahu Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'ina. Walhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.